It's September 5th, so the long-awaited video of stagflation is coming because I'm now back in New York. And this article was made 8 days ago, but again, 8 days ago, remember, actually 7 days ago, because it's 29th is a Friday, today's also Friday. Um, but I haven't been home since this came out. And the risk of stagflation is increasing because of Trump's reckless economic policies. Um, it's not inflation is expected to accelerate. It won't be as bad as the 70s, they say, but I mean tariffs cause inflation, and and again, when prices go up and then economic growth is stagnant or declines, which you've already seen with the loss of job growth. You know, they're saying it won't be as severe as what happened in the 70s, but it will still be stagflation. Inflation is higher than 2% a year, and employment, I just saw something on Twitter that was like 4.3%, the highest level since 2021. Again, it's not super severe, but when it peaks at 3.5%, and when you have 1% economic growth, that's less than what 2.5 is. Stagflation isn't a recession. Many say it's actually worse than a recession because you have prices going up and you have, prices going up and, output decreasing. This will have microcosms of both effects, but it won't be as severe as like a true recession where, even though yes prices drop, like the economic downturn won't be that bad. They say that this bout of stagflation should be mild and short-lived, unlike the one in the 70s. But again, you have to recognize that a lot of it is coming from Trump's just downright reckless economic policies. There can be political impacts on this too. So, I haven't been on Jackson's Jude in a while. It gives like election data. You have to remember that in 1980, Reagan won the election in a landslide. He won 489 electoral votes to the 49 by Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter only won 6 states, and even then, his best state was Georgia at only 14.8%. The D.C. obviously gave Carter a huge margin, as it always does, and several states that we think of now as reliably Democratic, like California, Washington. They voted for Carter against Carter by double digits. It was just a complete shellacking what happened here. I mean, the fact that Massachusetts wound up voting for Reagan really shows you just how unpopular he was, and stagflation certainly had a lot to do with that as well. And the political impacts we saw in other ways too. Look at what happened in the 1980 elections. Republicans wound up gaining 12 seats off of the Democrats. They flipped 12 seats. They flipped Washington, Idaho, Alaska, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, New Hampshire, Wisconsin, Indiana. And as we know, some of these flips were significant, as in, having these senators from Alabama, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina. The South had not really elected Democrat senators before this previously. Elected Republican senators previously. And we know that Idaho never elected a Democrat ever again after this to the Senate. So that's that. So we'll likely see some political impacts too. And this is honestly why the excessive gerrymandering, Trump is pushing it. Trump knows that, with the razor-thin majority he has, and with his unpopular policies, he's losing the House if they don't gerrymander. So he's aggressively trying to get states to gerrymander and cheat their way, into an election. And because Trump is having horrible economic policies, he's doing everything he can to keep Republicans in power because he knows that otherwise they won't have it. I didn't want to get too political in this, but if you look up the U.S. at stagflation risk, you'll see a ton of articles come up. Quite a lot of them. A few of them are recent articles. I know I made a video about this back in June, but and I'll link that in the comments below. But this round of stagflation is forecast to be more significant. Looking at Yahoo, Eurosport UK, they have made an article this morning actually at 8:18. And it's 3:14, so I'm within 7 hours on that. But that article is actually saying that that they're more worried about the economic growth slowing down than the inflation. So stagflation obviously is like two parts. So you could have like stagflation where it's like economic output's like the same, but prices increase significantly. They're so more worried about the economic growth being stagnant than necessarily about the inflation, even though there will be inflation with it, but that's the highest risk. So output is not really going to increase, and we'll probably still see slightly higher prices lagging along with it. I wouldn't say this is like going to be a downright, economic crisis, the same way it was in the 70s, but again, this is just another failure of the Trump administration because this stagflation was totally avoidable, and with this reckless U.S. government, I could see things getting a whole lot worse before they get better. I'm going to try not to do a full-on political video while I'm up in New York, at least in this stint. I should be coming up to New York mid-October and in early November, so and then obviously there's going to be breaks in college, so if I do a full blown-out political video, it will likely be then. But I just wanted to, and since it was requested by people that I do a stagflation video, I figured that since I was back in New York and in my normal setup for the next 2 days, I'll do a video on that and make some other videos that I wanted to make while I'm in New York.